What's going on, everyone? So, at what point, if you're the Sixers, is it too far of a hole? At what point is that pretty much it and you're calling it a season? So, the Philadelphia 76ers have once again taken an L. This time, they lost to the perfect, still unbeaten Cleveland Cavaliers, which tip your hat to Cleveland. Cleveland is just, they're ridiculous. It's crazy how they just keep winning, right? Like, look, I thought that they'd be a good team this season. I thought, that I had them as like that second tier team, right? I figured Celtics, I think Knicks would be in that conversation. The Sixers fully healthy. I was like, I don't know if they'll be in that tier, but I could see them being in that tier. But Cleveland, they seem to just be better than everybody right now. And it's been incredibly impressive to watch this run. So you got to, give it up for them, tip your cap to them. But the Philadelphia 76ers, again, like, they're going into a big game. You're getting further and further and further and further behind the eight ball. And it's just like, at what point can you no longer stretch to get back into reach, right? It kind of feels like the Sixers are banking on the West or the East being so bad that they'll be like, they just need a really good push and they're right back in it. Which they might not be wrong, right? Like, you look at the Eastern Conference, and there's only like two teams with a winning record, right? You look at the Western Conference, and it's just like a juggernaut. But you look at the Eastern Conference, and it's not like they right now have 2 wins, right? They are the second worst team behind the Raptors, and that's only because the Raptors have played one more game and lost, right? Well, the 4th seed has 5 wins, right? So, like, they're only 3 wins back of the 5th seed, even with being 2-9 on the season. Tells you how bad the Eastern Conference is. So, to me, that's kind of what this feels like. This kind of feels like the Sixers are like, hey, let's keep everyone healthy, keep everyone right, get Joel Embiid 100%, keep Paul George as healthy as possible, right? Tyrese Maxey, he's out. Even if we fall 2-12 or something like that, you go on a 5-6 game win streak, and now you're in the 7th seed, and then you win 8 out of 10 or something like that. Now you're the 4 seed, right? Which, as crazy as it sounds, it's really like that's not unreasonable. But here's the thing. It's like, how long is it going to take for them to get everybody in order and get everybody right, for one? 2, can everyone stay healthy? You're banking on Joel Embiid to stay healthy. You're banking on Paul George to stay healthy. You're banking on Tyrese Maxey to, when he comes back, stay healthy. And you need to build chemistry. You need to build that camaraderie. You need to build those relationships. We have seen time and time again, names on the back of the jerseys just don't work. Look at the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee Bucks can't beat anybody. They're terrible. Terrible. And Giannis is out here putting up 50 at the half and stuff, and he's still not enough. He's still not getting anything. Right? Him and Dame just don't work. And they're just a bad basketball team, right? So, like, we've seen that just because Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey on paper seems like a great trio, and I do think it will, right? Like, Paul George is that, like, plug-and-play star. He's a guy, one of the top 2-way guys in the league. There's very few guys that it's like, hey, I need a stop and a bucket that you would take over Paul George. We're talking about a stop and a bucket, right? Like, Luka, you give me the bucket. Is he getting you the stop? Right? Like, that's what I mean. A stop and a bucket. There's very few just stop and a bucket guys in this league. Paul George is definitely one of them. He's a guy that, he doesn't have to be the guy. He's probably best as not having to be the guy. As like your second, on some nights, third guy. I think that's the perfect role for him. But you still may have a little bit of a learning curve. If you get 20 games in and you're 5 of 15 and you've already played a quarter of the season and now you're getting everybody back, and it might take you another 10, 15 games to get right. Now you're third, if not more, right? Like you're what? At that point, almost 40% of the season finished, right? If you're 35 games in, and now let's say you start hitting your stride, you might be so far back, it might not matter. You might be a play-in team again. And yes, I get the ideas, like as long as you get into the playoffs, again, on paper, you should be good enough to win. But here's the problem. Joel Embiid has an injury history in the playoffs. Oh, and he has a tendency to just completely disappear. Completely disappear in the playoffs. Oh, Paul George tends to have an injury history come playoff time. Oh, and he can completely disappear in the playoffs. Completely disappear. Again, sometimes, like, there's going to be a game where you're just going to win just solely on Paul George. There's going to be a playoff game where Paul George is going to get you 35 and just be absolute clamps and just take over down the stretch and win you a game. But you're also probably going to have a game that you probably lose because Paul George just doesn't show up. And so the idea is that collectively between him, Maxey, and Joel Embiid, they can all kind of balance each other out. And at least with Paul George, you could still get the defense, still get a lot of other things, the dirty work, rebounding, playmaking, stuff like that, where, like when they had the experiment with James Harden, if he's not scoring, he's not really giving you anything else. Like, yeah, he can make plays, but he's not helping, not to the level that you need. At least Paul George could still defend the best player on the other team and, at least slow guys down. But it's just, I don't know. I don't have faith in the Sixers this year. If they, let's say that they finish the 5th seed, they're a playoff team. You don't have to worry about the play-in. That's great. That's fine. Do we trust the Sixers to get out of the Eastern Conference as the 5th seed? I mean, we might not even trust the Sixers to get out as the 1 seed, but at least you have home court, right? At least if you're a top 4 seed, you have at least the first round, even if they are the 4 seed, right? Like, okay, the first round you have home court. Like, ideally, they need to do more than just have the first round home court. And I mean, even if they were the 1 seed, right? Like I said, you still have your concerns and questions of, can they get over the hump? Is this a team that you can count on to get the job done? I don't know. I don't know if they can. I don't know if I would trust the Sixers to get the job done, right? Yes, healthy. I think that they're going to be a tough team to beat, especially if they figure some stuff out. Joel Embiid is still, when healthy, one of, if not the best players in the entire NBA, right? Top 3 to 5 at worst, right? And then Paul George as like your third option is probably the best third option in the league. And then you add in Tyrese Maxey, although you could argue Maxey is your third option, but even still, he's one of the better third options in the league, right? So I think, you kind of look at this team, and then they have depth, they have talent. It's just their depth is great when you have your stars. Like, the Sixers just don't have their guys to count on. We had the same problem last year for the Sixers. Right? Like, guys couldn't stay healthy. Next thing you look up, and you're a play-in team. And it's like, oh, there you go. Season's over. That's kind of how it's feeling this year. Right? You went and got Paul George and paid him all this money and did all these things. Guys played like 3 games. like what are we doing here? Right? Like, Joel Embiid, dude, like the most games he's ever played in a season is like what? I think like 66 or something like that, 68. I think he's played 68 was the most he ever played in a season off the top of my head. Like, he's not a model for health. He's not a guy that's known to be playing 70-plus games a season. Tyrese Maxey, if he ends up getting hurt, and this was my concern, it's like your 2 stars, talked about this before the season even began. If your 2 stars can't stay healthy, you're putting all this pressure, all this just wear on Tyrese Maxey, who's the healthiest of the 3 of them. And what happens if he starts getting hurt? Because he's trying to overexert himself and do too much to try to just save this team. And, and now he's hurt. And it's just like, great. And it's just, I don't know, unless they just figure it out. Again, luckily the East is so bad that even if they are 5-15, let's say 5-20 even, if they go on like an 8-game win streak, they're probably a 6 seed because the East is just so bad. Or if they win 8 out of 10 or something like that, they might end up being like the 7th or 8th seed. So, like, I'm not worried about them missing the playoffs. Right? I think at worst they'll be a play-in team, but that's not ideal. It's not like what you were looking to do. That's not what you planned on being when you went into the season, right? It's silly. But they just, this is what you expected. I mean, I expected it. I talked about this in the offseason. Like, can these guys stay healthy? Right? When Paul George went, I was like, oh, that's great. That's solid. Good for them. Right? I think he makes a world of sense for the Sixers. But can they stay healthy? This is why in the offseason, I was like, I don't know where to rank them. I don't know where to put them. I don't know if they should be a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if they should be a bottom 5 or 6 team seed, because I don't know. One, are they going to work? And 2, right? Like, can they stay healthy? So far, we haven't seen if they've been able to work because they haven't been able to stay healthy. So we'll see. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you have any concerns? Do you think, nah, we're fine? Sixers will figure it out. The East is weak enough to where they'll be able to get over the hump. How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.